All right, we're moving into level 3. And when we move into level 3, we have some vocabulary terms that we want to make sure that we define. So we're going to define a variable as a letter that represents a changing quantity. So it's a letter. It could actually also be a symbol, but for us it's going to be a letter that represents a changing or an unknown quantity. Okay, so our variable example could be something like x. Right? You'll see that a lot in algebra. You'll see the letter x show up a lot. But you can have any letter. We can have A or B or N. And you'll notice a lot of times if it's typed by a math teacher, you'll see that it is a kind of fancy cursive version of that X, a lowercase cursive. Might be something like an A. And the only reason that it might look a little fancy like italics is just so that it doesn't look like a number. So an algebraic expression is a mixture of numbers, variables, and operations. So it's an expression it can, but doesn't have to have numbers. So an algebraic expression could actually just be the letter x. It doesn't have to have numbers. Variables, as I just showed you there, it can have numbers and variables like 3x. And or symbols. So it could have variables and symbols. It could have numbers and symbols. Okay, but it does have to have either a number or a variable if it's going to have a symbol. Okay, so something like 5x minus 12 is an example of an expression. It's an algebraic expression because it has algebraic pieces in it. And the algebraic pieces are the numbers, the variables, and the symbols. All right? Okay, so now we're going to do what's called evaluating. So we have these algebraic expressions below. So these three, the A, the B, and the C, are expressions. So what we're going to do is evaluate. So what does the word evaluate mean? Because that's another term we need to know. So evaluate means it's kind of like substitute, okay, or replace. So you're going to replace the x with what it's equal to. So here it says x equals 5. So we're going to replace this x with 5. Now we do have to talk about what operation is going on in here. Is this 7 plus x, 7 minus x, 7 times x, 7 divided by x? And we may not know that. This is 7 times x. So when we put in 5 in place of the x, we need to make sure that we know it's 7 times 5. Okay? And then we're right back to the order of operations that we were at in level 2, and we just finished the problem using order of operations. So this one only has one operation, so 35. We haven't quite gotten to level 3 yet because that particular order of operation problem didn't have enough with it yet, so we're just practicing the evaluate part. So we'll put in 2 minus, and we're going to replace x with the number 5. 2 minus 5 is negative 3. Okay, and I always kind of put this little, like, I'm done here. You can circle your answers to show you're done. You can do the little slashes like I do. It doesn't really matter. Just an old habit I have. So 35 divided by So that over bar, like most people would say over, 35 over x, that means divide. So we're going to replace x with the number 5, and 35 divided by 5 is 7. Okay, so we haven't quite gotten to level 3 yet, because level 3 has to have a little bit more complex order of operations going on. So let's talk about level 3. Level 3, you have to be able to evaluate with 3 or more operations. Okay, so here, right next to this 2, I have multiplication, so that's 1 operation. I have addition inside the parentheses, so that's 2 operations. And then I have squared, so that's my 3. That's my 3rd operation. Okay, but we are going to replace the letter D with the number 9, and then we're going to follow through our order of operations. Okay, so I'm going to just rewrite this, 2 parentheses 3 plus 9 squared. Some of us are still writing 9 squared as 18, so let's make sure to either, number 1, use a calculator, or number 2, we need to know that 9 squared is 9 times 9. So I'm going to write that over to the side. 9 squared is 9 times 9, okay, which is 81. So we're going to do that part first. So 2 times, so there's a times there if you need to tell yourself that, 3 plus 81, that's 84 if I do my parentheses. So 2 times 84, I don't know what that is off the top of my head, so I'm going to grab a calculator. 2 times 84 is 168. And again, you can circle your answer there, or you can do the 2 little lines underneath it. Shows that you're done. Okay, so that's your level 3 type problem. So now we're just going to practice a few more examples on page 6. Okay, letter B. We're going to go ahead and replace this n that you see here with a negative 3. So we're going to go 4 parentheses 6. Now, if it's 6n, that means 6 times. Okay, so we have to make sure to get that in there. 6 times, and now we're going to replace the n with negative 3 plus 14. Okay, so now there's a lot more places that you can make mistakes, and little mistakes are going to happen. Okay, so just take the feedback that you get from either myself or Miss Banks, and we're going to just keep trying, keep practicing until we get better and better at it. So for example, one mistake that can be easily made here is when you multiply 6 times negative 3, you might just write 18. Okay, it's negative 18, so we want to make sure that we get that negative sign in there. Negative 18 plus 14. Okay, now we continue inside of the parentheses until we're completely done inside the parentheses. So now we've got to do negative 18 plus 14. Again, please feel free to grab that calculator and type that in if you're not sure. I'd rather you type it in than get it wrong. So 4 parentheses. And again, remember, that's 4 times. It's 4 times whatever we end up with inside of these parentheses. So negative 18 plus 14 is negative 4. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that multiplication. That's a negative 4. It's not minus 4. So I'm not doing 4 minus 4. I'm doing 4 times negative 4. So a positive times a negative is a negative. 4 times 4 is 16. So negative 16 is my answer there. Okay, we'll slide down to the bottom 2 here. Please feel free to slow down, pause the video, rewind, do whatever you need to at any point. Okay, so the first step is always to replace. We're going to replace m with my number 6. Okay, so wherever you see this m, you're going to put a 6 there instead. So 16 minus 5, and then 2 plus, don't write m, replace the m with the number 6. Okay, parentheses come first, so now you move down and go ahead and put together whatever is in the parentheses. So 2 plus 6 is 8. Okay, so I'm going to write this down. 16 minus 5, and then the parenthesis. Now that's, again, that's times. 2 plus 6 is 8. 5 times 8 happens before you do the subtraction. So I know it's really tempting to go 16 minus 5 is 11, but we don't want to do that yet. Okay, we want to do this multiplication first. So that's 16 minus 40. And then you might want to grab a calculator again. This is another good time to grab a calculator and make sure you do that subtraction correctly, because it's going to be a negative. So negative 24. This would be a good time to pause the video and try this last one before I do it, but there is a tricky part in this problem because of the negative, so just be aware of that. Don't be too hard on yourself if you don't get the answer 100% correct, but you can always pause the video right here and test out, see if you can do this problem on your own. First thing we're going to do is replace b with negative 4. So it's going to be 7 plus a negative 4. Don't forget to put that squared up top. Minus 3. 7 and a negative 4 is 3. Squared, you can put those parentheses, but you actually don't need the parentheses, so up to you if you want those there or not. 3 squared is 9. Bring down the minus 3. 9 minus 3 is 6. And if we turn to page 7, that's where our homework will be, just in time for the bell.